Wales and met Sophia in LA, and she then liked Maria Antoinette as well. So she wrote me, I have it in my phone actually, she wrote me a letter in the shape of a swan. And I guess someone took a picture of it and sent it to me. I still have it in my phone about doing the short Alice Munro short story called Runaway Together that she wanted to workshop, but it really didn't come to fruition. But eventually, yeah, I kept it in my phone like a little witch. And we have the same birthday, Jane and I, so maybe I conjured something up in there.
Nice.
Jesse got the script of this film before I did.
Well, I was just going to ask, a book that was on your radar before Jane reached out?
No, not at all.
No?
But it blew me away, and I got the script. I think I read that first, and then no, I think I read this book first. I heard she was interested, and just dove into this insanely beautiful novel. Which is a very, very rich mind to sort of dwell in if you're building a character of Phil Burbank. And then I met her, having then read the script, and was utterly entranced by her take on it. And then I always thought it was a sort of a conversation, so we just sort of sat down and had coffee, and she showed me a lookbook, talked about the sensuality, what she wanted to expose, and the kind of transgressions of the trope of a Western, and this type of toxic masculine character with this incredible sort of secret that's twisting him into a pretzel of fear and hatred, and what that vulnerability is in Phil. And I was just entranced, and we had a lovely conversation, first of what it has been ever since, many, and I said at the end, this is amazing. I mean, are we doing something doing this? And she went, yeah, I just want to be my Phil. I was like, thank you, Jane. She's the only one who thinks I do good. And then I kind of got off from that and just got on the phone to Major. I think I've just been offered the part. She went outside and spoke to Dennis and Gat. She went, I just offered Benedict the role. So, like all things with her, you know, there's all this preparation, and then there's this sort of space like Cody's describing where things just allowed to breathe and happen, and that was the first one.
Well, from that conversation...
Oh, sorry. Well, I mean, you know, I think that theme is... That's a river that runs through all of our work, to be honest, I feel. I just think however it takes place, there's the interior, there's the domesticity, there's the house that becomes the house of horrors in a lot of our work, there's the landscape, there's a character in a lot of our work. And whether it's female protagonists who are suffering at the hands of toxic male protagonists, you know, yes. But there's also a lot of inversion of that trope, I feel, in this film as well. So it didn't feel, you know, people talk about it a lot. I don't know any different. I haven't been in any other Jane Campion films. What's it like to be the first movie? I don't know really what it's like, because I can just tell you the experience. And you know, we all know a few actors who've been in some of our other projects, and it's I think a similar journey that she goes on. You know, I'd say from my character's point of view, and the subject of toxic masculinity that he encounters, what's good about it is you look under the hood of this person and start to understand why he is the way he is, rather than dismissing it as something that is survived or suffered by somebody at the receiving end of the behavior, to try and maybe open that conversation a little bit. Not that she did this for, you know, a social talking point, but I guess that is a takeaway from the film, is to understand the whys and the wherefores, and to have the dialogue, the conversation, to be aware of it in our parenting, in our society, in our general way of being, so that we can be on the lookout for it and try to tackle it at its root, rather than continually seeing it surface in every aspect of the culture, from world leaders to domestic violence and it all. That would be a great place to move towards, but Jane should really answer this question.
I did hear her say it was something that was just given to her, not with the thought of adapting it, but it was just something that she said she couldn't shake, you know, which I think, you know, is what you're always looking for, something that just sort of embeds itself into your mind, and I think she just felt like she had to do it.
Yeah. So...
Easy horse. I mean, look, Jesse's a great horseman, but without bringing the subject up of his horse yet again in another way, I'm slightly joking, but I can cauterize it right now if you want. He basically had to ride a horse that was almost unrideable. So
wow.
He was a plow horse.
But I definitely learned so much, and it's a Western style, it's different, and but yeah, Phil's so adapted to so many things. It was quite daunting alone, let alone trying to dig deep into the psyche of this character. whittling, whistling, castration. It's on the list, you know, castration. Cigarettes in one hand and horseback, that's pretty tricky. Well, any guy as well as he does it in the book. But all important, not just attributes or like, oh look at me shit, it's also kind of really integral to sort of balance the brutal and the sensitive within this human form. You know, he's really admired for things that you'd imagine a man wanting to portray strength and everything that he submits, or sorry, puts on other people and oppresses other people with, as not wanting to show him being good at whittling, something very delicate and small, and although he uses it as a tool to denigrate his poor brother, it requires a real finesse of work. It's not an ironmongery. So even within that, there's a sort of hint as to what lies beneath. And so that it was important. It was important to be in his body, to know what it felt like to be on a horse as much as he had over his 25 years of running that ranch with his brother. And making the road, treating the hide, braiding, all of it. And I had an amazing job, so cool. But on top of that, I got to go to Montana and learn all these things.
Yeah.
What a gift.
Piano,
Yeah.
or Jesse,
Yeah.
and all of our friends. I had a cool piano teacher though. He works with Julian Casablancas, so I had like a hip piano teacher, which was nice. Because my first piano teacher was the choir, you know, the lead of the choir. It's in church, so that's very different. This teacher, you know, you could, have like, you know, he hung with us, right? I mean, but yeah, I put our son to bed and then just get to it. And I just do one hand, and the other, and then when I first got both hands together, I think I cried to God, like, thank you. It's just learning an instrument that you can't become proficient at an instrument that quickly, and so you kind of have to do the, you know, what would you call it, like just like the super speed, you know, every night, and any chance you can get on the piano,
Right.
you know.
Right.
So that Jane doesn't even know how to play the piano, so I don't even know. It's just like in all of her movies, and I'm just like, oh, this immense pressure. I was like, okay, another piano. But it is the big scene between both of our characters. It just shows, you know, him trumping me with this beautiful artistry that he commands, and that I'll never be able to, in what I used in my own, you know, psyche for playing it, is that I'll never be like that kind of artist that he is. And so that in itself, just like as a performer, is like a crushing feeling that you'll never be the artist that you would like to be.
That I've got a lot of that because piano playing is way, way better than my banjo.
And
Sounds like
banjo
a
is not really
criticism.
something you can like
No,
snap
but
into
you
place.
got really, I was very impressed. You had to draw back.
I had one thing to learn. You had a lot of things to
So,
learn.
Jesse, maybe if you'll share a bit about your past with.
I grew up riding horses. I grew up in Central Texas, and my dad's side of the family, they all ride and rope, and so, you know, there's home movies of me as like a year-old being, you know, placed on top of a horse. And yeah, it was just something that was second nature, you know. But it wasn't really all that, you know, integral to George, because he's sort of, as Phil is sort of clinging to the past, George is kind of more interested in these new automobiles, you know. It was definitely just getting to sort of, in a way, play cowboy and, you know, work on a ranch was a lot of fun. You know, we had a great consultant that sort of walked us through what the year cycle is, just so we had kind of an understanding of that. But there wasn't nearly as much required of me in that way as these two. Yeah.
Cody, you wanna?
I mean, same goes for me. I had to learn some cute, delicate kind of stuff to do with my hands and patience and things like that. But I mean, any other skill that Peter picks up, he has to look like an amateur in doing. So that wasn't hard for me.
So,
Psychologist. Phil Burbank's psychologist. And Yeah, it was hugely important. And it's weird. I mean, one of the first things we did when we got together in London after that odd but beautiful moment, the first meeting in LA, was to go around the National Portrait Gallery. And I knew what she was up to. I said, so, you want to find him, right? And she went, well, maybe. And I then got very hung up on the idea of like, well, is it just some weird identity code, or can it be vague? Can you? And so then you just start asking yourself how much you remember of dear people that have been close to you in real detail from the age of 19, and it's kind of troubling because we have this thing called the internet to really, really force yourself into that, to know how clear your recall will be or how impressionistic. For me, it was more about the essence of the man, what he brought out in me, and that required a lot of work, just to keep saying that. But just I can't speak.
We did discuss our history at length, and we did discuss sort of everything leading up to when things shifted, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I did make some decisions as to how much I knew, but I think it almost even knowing just a little bit, that's still more than Phil would like any human being to know. And so that was what was the most interesting thing. Not that George sort of had him, had something on him, but knew him and in a way that no one else did, and had somehow compassion for that, given the way Phil's treated him for all these years. So.
Next pair I want to go to is Kirsten and Jesse. I believe.
Jay was, she introduced me still at the beginning of the shoot to the whole crew, and these guys were so helpful for just letting me go there. And we tried to stay out of each other's way. We get on very well. We had lovely weekends together with our families and stuff, and we're good friends. But it was work, and it's a short period of time. And actually, for the amount of animosity that is present, a lot of it wasn't in person. Kirsten had to manifest a lot of it off screen. So there's really only that meeting. Well, there's obviously the dining room scene in the beginning. I'm sort of unaware of it. I'm not targeted on her until she comes into the house, and that's the one. It's the welcome. It's that. Well, yeah, it's anything about that. But you know what I mean? That scene. That's kind of it. Face to face. That's kind of it.
Other than that, it's like, a haunting sound or boots on the floor, but that's not really something that would, trigger me personally. So it was just about creating what it is that, frightens me. The things that would make me spin out if I was in a circumstance, with my own house of horrors.
And it's brilliant. And I'm not the kind of actor that, even if you ask me, I find it I have to stop apologising and being people pleasers. James told me to be just be him, and he's anything but that. But I can't sort of help someone or think I'm helping someone by being an absolute arsehole to them in a scene that doesn't even exist. You know what I mean? I'm not that guy. So we just start to look parameters, and Kirsten had to do the hard lifting on that.
Well, and one of those things, Kirsten, was it wasn't just not very much engaging with Benedict, but it was just sometimes not engaging with anyone, right? For vocal reasons, I guess.
Oh yeah, I did do that one day because we had this big dinner scene, so I didn't talk so much because she's supposed to be so overwhelmed, and you kind of see it when Jesse hands me the whole tray of cocktails. But honestly, the line it was cut out, I think. But the first time I spoke in that scene, remember, I kind of I choked on my words.
Yeah.
So I kind of made the choice just not to speak so much that day. So I felt small in my own, even in speaking, because Rose is obviously very different than me, and she's very, she's just swallowing a lot of feelings instead of expressing them. So she, that's the big scene where she decides to take a drink of alcohol, and that's going to be her way to cope in the house.
Lastly,
We had together. It was a great time to do that. Sometimes it was rehearsing with the whole ensemble, and other times intimately just with Jane, and many of the times just with Benedict and I. And that was a good time to return to those pivotal scenes that we remember in the movie so well. Like the catwalk scene, I call it, when he's walking to the tree and he walks back. These were, thank you. Thank you. These were scenes where we just created an environment in which we got to share our ideas about it, and Jane did, I feel, have very specific ideas that she wanted to convey, and it was just about solidifying the freedom, I guess, to explore those on the day as well.
Well, I remember, like you were saying, there were certain actions, there were certain parameters. But I did think she wanted to be surprised somehow, so that when we do come together after that moment of rage at the heights being taken away, that you don't quite know where it's going to go. And then that dance is very fluid. The power play is shifting all the time. The level of seduction, we're way past the point where recruiting him might be weaponizing him against the mother, and possibly even to take him away from the picture altogether. But it solidifies into something which obviously echoes the tutor, the pupil, the relationship with Bronco and Phil. But oh God, it's a long time ago. If I'm honest, I felt at the time, if I can remember correctly, there was a lot of slippage, and we would talk about it sometimes because we were in sync as characters. By that point, there was such a proximity. It wasn't about keeping a distance. But I remember us just sort of supporting each other as actors and not talking about what we did, but just egging each other on to give more. And Jane was very much like that. The cigarette passing was very much her thing. There were words that I did not want to say, so we cut them. I felt that was just something that, she's a master of cinematic poetry and sensual cinema making, so just go to that rather than the page for this moment. And she agreed with me, which was a rare thing. When she didn't agree with me, I was still but it just let us kind of find it. I think I remember writing it.
Yeah, no, definitely. She can be very dualistic in that way. In her guidance, very specific about certain things, whether they be actions or the way you walk or say something, but then the rest of it is left up to the freedom of intuition.
Cody and I had a good secret together.
Yeah, we did.
Please?
Yeah.
You want to share?
I think the first time I met you, right?
Yes,
I was like, hey, Cody, you want to have a secret together? I was like, what if you killed your father, my husband, and that's our secret? Just to give an extra layer of weirdness to the mother-son relationship, which we didn't tell Jane or anybody.
No, we didn't. We wanted to keep that as just a thing that we could, play with, but it's come up quite a bit. In fact, it came up at the Q&A last night.
Oh, really?
It continuously asked about
Where
it.
somebody speculates that that's what happened?
It's translated.
See, it got into everyone's unconscious mind. I have a question. Is our friend Till up here? I don't know, is our friend coming out? Oh, there he is. I thought I saw him.
Cody, you had said it.
It's about love. It's about the absence of love, about being restricted from being able to be loved and to express love, really. And I think that is, so it's getting very meta armchair psychologist about it, but I think beyond the very specific, as you said, circumstances of his repression, I think that is what is apparent. And you see also this world in which strength is so kind of paradigm and archetype being completely inverted, with Peter's strength being the strongest, and whatever we encompass and whatever our feelings are, rich realized characters. But it's like I think that's the takeaway. It's like, be true to yourself and hope for love, and do not fear the judgment of others. It's put far more beautifully in the book and in acres of literature, and what we, I think, all know in this room makes sense. It's about love.
Wow.
Kirsten, would you add anything?
That's pretty good, right? This is about having a great time at the movies. No, I mean, to be able to see a new Jane Campion film after 12 years is a real treat.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's only going to get harder as we go down the line.
Popcorn and hot dogs. It gets like worse and worse. I know I went here and I was like,
I mean, it is nice to just be at a movie, right? And with other people. That's
The
something.
community of cinema being back.
Yeah, right.
She's right. It's a really important thing.
Yeah.
Jane, so.
miss those hot dogs.
Well, that's this place actually does not that one.
I
So,
smelled that.
When I got here, I was like, I ate, but.
Well, on that note, I want to thank you guys so much, and great to do it.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. Mwah. Love you. Up the Union Jack, you got my vote.